1875 letter that reveals General Hood's overlooked warning that could have altered the outcome of the Battle of Gettysburg. Imagine if I suggested that the result of the Battle of Gettysburg, a pivotal moment in the American Civil War, may have depended on a single urgent warning that was overlooked, suppressed, and almost forgotten by history. Envision this scenario. It is July 2nd, 1863, and the destiny of a nation is at stake. Amidst the turmoil, a Confederate general identifies a critical weakness in the strategy, a clandestine route to triumph that others are too hesitant to pursue. Over a decade later, in a confidential correspondence, General John Bell Hood discloses the unsettling reality of a warning he attempted to convey and the unyielding command that silenced him. Why was Hood's appeal dismissed? What insights did he possess that eluded others? And how might this singular choice have altered our understanding of Gettysburg? Stay with us as we unveil the revelations contained in Hood's 1875 letter, a document so provocative that it calls into question everything you believed about America's most brutal battle. If you think you are familiar with Gettysburg, reconsider. This is the narrative they sought to suppress, and by the conclusion, you will find yourself re-evaluating history itself. Let us proceed, but prior to commencing, please like and subscribe to our channel to bolster our community. When reflecting on the Battle of Gettysburg, numerous names instantly come to mind: Pickett, Hancock, Meade, McLaws, Longstreet. However, today I wish to direct our focus towards General John Bell Hood. His attack on Little Round Top stands as one of the most crucial events of this historic confrontation. It is vital to hear his personal account of the occurrences on that significant day, July 2nd, 1863. Years later, in 1875, General James Longstreet, who had become somewhat distanced from many former Confederates due to his shift in political views, reached out to Hood. He sought to understand Hood's viewpoint regarding the events at Gettysburg. I would like to present the correspondence Hood sent to Longstreet, in which he vividly describes his experiences during the battle. I arrived with my staff at the heights of Gettysburg shortly after dawn on July 2nd. As previously noted, my division commenced movement into a nearby open field. Here, the soldiers were permitted to stack their arms and take a brief respite while we awaited further instructions from our superiors. Not far ahead, during the early hours of that same morning, we were engaged alongside Generals Lee and A.P. Hill, carefully observing the positioning of the Federal troops. General Lee, attired in his full uniform, with his coat buttoned tightly at the throat and his saber belt secured around his waist, paced back and forth in the shade of the large trees surrounding us. He had his field glasses at hand and would occasionally pause to scrutinize the enemy's positions. He appeared optimistic, yet there were moments when he seemed lost in contemplation, weighing the challenges that lay ahead. Nearby, Colonel Fremantle from England was situated in the fork of a tree, consistently using his binoculars to examine the elevated positions occupied by the Federal Army. It was evident that General Lee was eager for us to initiate an attack that morning. He remarked, "The enemy is here, and if we do not defeat him, he will defeat us." However, I believed it prudent to await the arrival of Pickett's division, which was still in the rear, before we proceeded with our assault. Later, while we were seated together near the trunk of a robust tree, you remarked, "The general seems somewhat anxious this morning. He desires me to attack, but I am reluctant to do so without Pickett. I have always been cautious about entering a conflict without being fully prepared, often stating, 'I never wish to march into battle with one boot left behind.'" The morning passed slowly, filled with tension and increasing pressure, until the afternoon finally arrived. By 3 o'clock we had formulated a plan, as we could no longer postpone action for Pickett's division. We decided to focus our efforts on the far right and prepare an assault along the Emmitsburg Road. McLaws moved forward, and I followed closely with my own division. Soon after, I received orders to expedite my troops' movement and catch up with McLaws. To facilitate this, I deployed a vanguard unit tasked with removing obstacles and clearing the path for our advance. The instructions I received were clear. I was to position my division along the Emmitsburg Road, establish a battle line, and prepare for our assault. However, before reaching the Emmitsburg Road, I chose to send several of my most trusted Texas scouts to identify the enemy's far left flank. They quickly returned with information that the enemy's flank was secured on Round Top Mountain. They reported that the terrain was clear, allowing us to navigate through a wooded pasture around Round Top and attack the enemy's side or rear. They also noted that Federal supply wagons were heavily clustered behind their lines, making them vulnerable to an assault from that direction. Upon arriving at the Emmitsburg Road, I took immediate action. I positioned 1 or 2 artillery batteries and began firing, ready to engage the enemy and shift the momentum of the battle. The enemy's artillery quickly responded, revealing their positions. Their left flank was near Round Top, with their lines curving inward and outward, creating a concave formation as we advanced along the Emmitsburg Road. A significant force was positioned ahead of their main line, located between the Emmitsburg Road and Round Top Mountain. This unit was arranged in combat formation on a slope next to a peach orchard. I realized that in order to follow orders and advance along the Emmitsburg Road, I first needed to confront and overcome this forward battle line. At the base and along the slope of the mountain, we encountered large boulders grouped closely together, creating narrow openings that threatened to disrupt our formation and scatter our troops during the challenging ascent. I recognized that my division would be vulnerable to intense fire from the enemy's primary position, located at the summit of the high ground, with Round Top securing their far left flank. The concave configuration of the enemy's line indicated that we would face severe fire from both the front and the rear. I considered it nearly impossible to navigate the steep and uneven mountain under such crossfire, while simultaneously dislodging the enemy. I understood that any potential success would exact a heavy toll on the most courageous soldiers ever to engage in battle. The reconnaissance conducted by my Texas scouts and my observations of the Federal positions concluded remarkably quickly, faster than I can recount now, although the events of that day remain vividly imprinted in my memory as if they occurred yesterday. These crucial insights emerged shortly after we reached the Emmitsburg Road, prompting me to urgently advise you that proceeding with the attack as ordered was ill-advised. I urged a maneuver around Round Top to strike the enemy's flank and rear instead, dispatching an officer to propose this revised strategy along with my rationale. Your response was prompt, stating that General Lee's orders were to advance up the Emmitsburg Road. I sent another officer to reiterate my concerns regarding the likelihood of failure and to restate my request to flank Round Top. Once more, your response remained unchanged. In the meantime, I continued to endure artillery fire from the enemy, becoming increasingly convinced that the Federal line extended to Round Top. I perceived little realistic opportunity for achieving significant results through the attack as directed. The enemy's position appeared so inherently strong that it could be deemed nearly invincible. They could easily thwart our advance by simply rolling boulders down the slope in addition to their side attacks. For the third time, I sent my Adjutant General, Colonel Harry Sellers, known for his bravery and exceptional abilities, to provide a detailed account of the situation and encourage you to assess it in person. Colonel Sellers returned with the same message. General Lee's directive was to launch an assault along the Emmitsburg Road shortly after Colonel Fairfax from your staff reiterated those orders. Following this urgent appeal, which marked my only protest throughout my military career, I ordered my troops to advance and initiate the attack. As my forces moved forward, you approached me directly. During our brief conversation, I reiterated my concerns and expressed my disappointment at being unable to flank Round Top. You emphasized the necessity of following General Lee's commands. I then led my line into battle under intense fire. Approximately 20 minutes after reaching the peach orchard, I sustained a serious arm injury and was evacuated from the battlefield, concluding my participation in this critical engagement. As I was being carried away, I experienced deep sorrow for my courageous soldiers who were part of one of the most esteemed divisions in that renowned army. I firmly believed that had I been allowed to maneuver around Round Top Mountain, we would have captured that position and defeated the enemy. I remain, with utmost respect, yours, J.B. Hood. John Bell Hood is recognized as one of the most distinguished generals, and his narrative captivates me greatly. He is a multifaceted historical figure, and I intend to create additional videos exploring his personal life. However, his assault at Gettysburg remains one of the most renowned moments of the conflict. Devil's Den and Little Round Top are recognized as two of the most significant locations of the Battle of Gettysburg, infamous for the fierce and bloody confrontations that took place there. The attacks at these sites are among the Civil War's most ferocious battles, characterized by unyielding combat and overwhelming casualties. What further enhances these events is the personal account of General John Bell Hood, which provides a distinctive perspective on the battle. It is important to highlight that Hood's narrative was written more than 10 years after the war ended, raising questions about its reliability. Can we completely trust his memories? Did he accurately recall the events as they transpired? Human memory is inherently fallible, with details often becoming distorted or lost over time. Hood did not document his thoughts immediately following the battle, which adds to the uncertainty surrounding his account. Nevertheless, his correspondence with General James Longstreet offers a compelling insight into his experiences during one of the war's critical moments. Hood's reflections also illuminate the mindset of a Confederate general grappling with the chaos of battle and the weight of command. His expressive language and raw emotion vividly portray the dire conditions faced by soldiers that day. Tragically, John Bell Hood passed away in New Orleans just 4 years after composing this poignant letter. His life and military legacy continue to intrigue historians and Civil War scholars alike. What if Hood's caution had been taken seriously? Might the trajectory of Gettysburg in history have shifted? His letter provides a rare personal insight into a battle that remains enveloped in mystery and discussion. What are your thoughts? Was Hood's strategy a mischance or merely a fateful risk? Please share your opinions below and stay tuned as we reveal more concealed narratives from history's most significant battles.